Meghan's surprise MasterChef Australia appearance. There was no advance warning, no orchestrated media blitz, no carefully timed press releases building anticipation. Meghan simply walked into the MasterChef Australia kitchen as a guest judge, and the contestants had no idea she was coming. She spent a full day filming what will become one of the most talked-about episodes of the show's 18th season, premiering this weekend on Channel 10, and certain corners of the internet immediately erupted with accusations of PR manipulation, celebrity overreach, and the inappropriate insertion of a royal into a beloved cultural institution. Yet this reaction conveniently ignores a crucial fact. King Charles and Queen Camilla appeared on this very same show in 2018 in precisely the same capacity, and nobody called it a stunt then. But beyond the obvious hypocrisy lies something far more significant. Meghan's relationship with food, cooking and culinary culture is not some newfound interest manufactured for a television moment, but rather one of the most thoroughly documented and remarkably consistent threads running through her entire public life, visible for over a decade to anyone paying attention. Since 2013, long before the world knew her name beyond the Suits fandom, she has appeared on Hallmark's Home and Family Making Tacos, on Hayley Duff's Real Girl's Kitchen, sharing her grandmother's apple butter toast recipe, posing for the New Potatoes food-focused digital platform, guest judging Chop Jr. and creating Power Lunch with Meghan for USA Network, a series that ranked among the network's top 10 most viewed short-form clips. This was not incidental performance, but demonstrable, measurable audience interest in Meghan specifically within a culinary context, years before she became the Duchess of Sussex. In 2018, during the most scrutinised year of her life, she helped create the Together Cookbook with women from the Hub community kitchen displaced by the Grenfell Tower fire, a best-selling project where every penny went directly to the community rather than building her brand. And then came With Love Meghan, 2 full seasons on Netflix exploring cooking, hosting and the generous domestic life she had been championing since the TIG attracted 3 million readers. MasterChef Australia did not seek out a celebrity with a tenuous connection to food. They sought out someone with a decade of documented culinary television experience, a best-selling cookbook, a lifestyle brand substantially built around food, and a Netflix series about cooking and hosting that generated sell-out products worldwide. Meghan's unannounced arrival at the MasterChef kitchen, in a moment that caught everyone off guard, Meghan walked into the MasterChef Australia kitchen as a surprise guest judge for Season 18, with no advance warning and no coordinated announcement to prepare the contestants for what was about to unfold. She spent a full day on set filming the episode that will air on Channel 10 beginning this weekend, immersing herself completely in the competitive atmosphere and the genuine culinary challenges that define the show. The contestants had no idea she was coming. There were no leaked social media posts, no whispered rumours backstage, no carefully orchestrated press opportunities designed to build anticipation. She simply arrived, and in that moment of revelation transformed an ordinary filming day into something the show's 18th season will likely never forget. It was the kind of appearance that cuts through the noise of traditional celebrity engagement, unmediated and authentic. A judge stepping into that kitchen not as a distant personality, but as someone genuinely invested in the calibre of cooking happening before her. The double standard in public reception. Yet, when King Charles and Queen Camilla, then the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall, appeared on that same MasterChef Australia programme in 2018, the response was entirely different. Two senior working royals walked into a competitive kitchen as part of their tour engagement, and the Australian public found it charming, delightful, perfectly appropriate. Nobody called it a PR stunt. Nobody questioned whether they had any business being part of a cultural institution. Nobody suggested it was an overreach. The reception was warm, the narrative was positive, and the appearance was celebrated as a natural fit for a royal tour. But when Meghan stepped into that same kitchen, into that same format, with that same show, the corners of the internet erupted with accusations of opportunism, of inappropriate insertion, of someone using a beloved institution for personal brand building. The selective outrage reveals something uncomfortable about how these appearances are judged, not on their merit or their context, but on who is doing the appearing. The inconsistency is stark, undeniable, and it speaks to something far deeper than simple hypocrisy. It exposes the double standard that measures the same action by entirely different yardsticks depending on who performs it. And it suggests that for some, no context, no history, no genuine connection to a space will ever be sufficient explanation for why Meghan belongs there. A decade of culinary television. Long before Meghan became a household name beyond the Suits fandom, she was already establishing herself as a fixture in food television. A thread so consistently woven through her public life that it has largely escaped notice. In 2013, she appeared on Hallmark Channel's Home and Family Making Tacos, marking the beginning of what would become a remarkable decade of culinary work. She guest-judged Chopped Jr. in 2016, bringing her discerning palate to a show that celebrates culinary creativity, and created Power Lunch with Meghan for USA Network, a miniseries exploring New York's finest restaurants that ranked among the network's top 10 most viewed short-form clips. Demonstrable proof of genuine audience interest in her specifically within a food context, years before she became the Duchess of Sussex. Between these television appearances, she was featured in the New Potatoes food-focused editorial, shared her grandmother's recipe on camera, and appeared on Today Food, each engagement a deliberate choice to align herself with the culinary world. This was not incidental performance or opportunistic celebrity involvement. This was a woman building a genuine documented relationship with food television that would eventually justify her presence in kitchens far more prestigious than most could access. Meghan's culinary impact, the Together Cookbook and Community Kitchen. In 2018, amid one of the most scrutinized years of her life, Meghan channeled her long-standing passion for food and community into a project that would define her approach to meaningful engagement. She helped create the Together Cookbook, a collection of recipes born from the women of the Hub Community Kitchen who had been nourishing their families after the Grenfell Tower fire displaced them from their homes. The book became a bestseller. Yet what distinguished this project from the endless parade of celebrity cookbooks was its fundamental purpose. Every single penny of proceeds went directly back to the kitchen itself. There was no brand building happening here, no carefully constructed narrative about Meghan the philanthropist. There was simply a woman who understood that a kitchen is where community lives, and who recognized that the most meaningful way to support these women was to amplify their voices and their recipes while ensuring the financial benefit remained entirely theirs. This was the food project that mattered most, not because it generated headlines or burnished her credentials, but because it demonstrated something far more important, that Meghan's relationship with cooking had never been about performance or personal gain, but about the quiet, essential work of bringing people together around a table. Meghan's Culinary Foundation, from platform to Netflix phenomenon. With love. Meghan stands as the crowning achievement of a decade-long culinary trajectory, spanning 2 seasons on Netflix that showcase not merely cooking, but the art of hosting and the generous, considered domestic life that has defined Meghan's brand philosophy since The Tig first captured 3 million readers. The series transcended the typical cooking show format, generating sellout products globally that demonstrated audiences were not simply consuming content, but actively investing in the lifestyle Meghan was presenting. The carefully curated tables, the thoughtfully sourced ingredients, the understanding that a kitchen is where hospitality becomes expression. This Netflix venture did not emerge from nowhere. Rather, it represents the inevitable culmination of a lifestyle brand built substantially around food, one that began years before royal duty, persisted through it, and has now flourished into a documented cultural phenomenon. From her early appearances on Hallmark Channel to Power Lunch with Meghan, from the best-selling Together Cookbook born from genuine community need to the intimate aspirational world of With Love, Meghan has constructed something far more deliberate than a passing entertainment trend. She has built a recognizable, measurable, and deeply engaged audience that understands her as someone who speaks fluently in the language of the kitchen. Meghan's strategic move into fashion commerce. And on the same day the MasterChef filming was confirmed, it was also announced that Meghan has joined One-Off as both a participant and an investor. One-Off is an AI-powered fashion discovery platform that makes her Australia outfits shoppable in real time. Every element of every look she wore, from the Royal Children's Hospital visit onward, is on her personal page with the brand, the price, and a direct purchasing link, all live within hours of her wearing the pieces. This is not incidental commerce. This is strategic alignment between her highly visible public moments and a platform designed to democratize access to the pieces that define her aesthetic. Just as her culinary work had demonstrated documented audience interest long before the spotlight of royal life, her approach to fashion reveals a woman who understands that style, like cooking, is a form of storytelling that people want to participate in. The One-Off partnership allows her Australia wardrobe to become immediately accessible, transforming the mystique of what she wears into actionable choices for those watching. It is the same philosophy that animated her Netflix series and the Together Cookbook. The belief that people do not simply want to admire from a distance, they want to understand the details, acquire the pieces, and build their own versions of the life being presented. In joining One-Off on the very day her MasterChef appearance became official, Meghan was not inserting herself into yet another venture. She was extending the consistent thread of her public life, making the private deliberations of taste, whether culinary or sartorial, into invitations for genuine connection and participation. Meghan's documented culinary credentials MasterChef Australia did not extend an invitation to a celebrity seeking relevance through association with the show. Rather, they approached someone whose relationship with food television spans over a decade of verifiable professional experience. Meghan's qualifications for the role extend far beyond her public profile. She authored a best-selling cookbook through the Together project, which documented recipes from the Hub Community Kitchen and generated proceeds that directly supported the women displaced by the Grenfell Tower fire. Her credentials also include 2 seasons of With Love Meghan on Netflix, a series centered entirely on cooking, hosting, and the deliberate construction of a generous domestic life. Themes she has explored consistently through her digital platform, The Tig, and in every food-related television appearance since her 2013 guest spot on the Hallmark Channel. MasterChef Australia recognised in Meghan not merely a name to attract viewers, but a demonstrated television host with substantive experience in the culinary space, a lifestyle brand substantially built around food culture, and a track record of creating content that engaged audiences globally. This was not an overreach by someone inserting themselves into territory where they have no standing. This was the natural convergence of a show seeking qualified expertise and a woman whose entire public relationship with cooking and hospitality has been, as the evidence plainly shows, one of the most consistent and documented threads of her career.